times when one of my companies or one of my departments has been failing, and I'll go in there and I'll just try to turn it around and recover it quickly. But of course, that means budget cuts over here. We're not going to spend so much over there. We have to lay it off on a position because it's not as needed, and blah blah blah. So that person that got laid off felt like they just were never appreciated, and all these other things. And so, but they were all smart and wise decisions, and it makes sense to do it. But if they don't feel like you care, it was just vulgar, and the morale is way low. So the big falling forward moment, I can give an example for that of the first, show how much you care before how much you know, and so that kind of tied into that a little bit somehow.
Yeah. That's good.
But the staff now are ready. They have the summer off because it's summertime, and they've already decorated their rooms for the school. I mean, it was amazing that even though they didn't get 66% of what they wanted, or they only got a third of what they wanted,
right?
They're happier than ever because they know that they are being heard.
Right. That's good. What something struck me that you said, and I just thought it would be a nice little detail to fill in. You said during the hard recovery year, when the funds were really limited and they had half a principal and they had extremely limited budget for field trips, they got creative. What do you have any examples of their creativity, of their creative problem solving?
They would do fundraisers where kids would, some of their students have unique talents of making cool little jewelry things, that were cheap stuff, and they would sell it for, a couple dollars. They'd go to surrounding neighbor community, either businesses, or walk around and talk to people and try to raise money so that they can go on, museum trips or whatever. And so they would get creative with either raising money, or they would get creative with not having to spend so much. Like, instead of going to a museum, they would go to the library for free, and they would read about museums or whatever. And so, it just creative in the sense of that type thing.
Got it.
They would make pizza and sell pizzas.
As a fundraiser?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That definitely seems like a good case study. Do you have any, I'm just wondering if that, I don't know if that's, I could imagine that plus one other story being a chapter. Do you have any other, can you think of any other examples of that particular thing, like showing somebody that you care before you show them what you know?
Yes. That wasn't a very successful. Well, I guess it's better to show not better, but it's just as good to show the failing ones. There was a suit company that I was looking at buying into or buying it, and going into it and evaluating it, me and my finance director said, one, we'll buy it for X amount, but these are the things that we plan to do, and several things were laying off a family member that was a very high salary that didn't really have too much actual return on investment for that salary. And you know, there was many other things, but that one thing was just the deal breaker, and so it didn't go too much farther down the road of actually transpiring, and we didn't end up buying it. But I think if I would have helped come up with other, or explained, you won't be able to give this family member even a job, at half the salary, or giving them a job at all. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be, closing your doors in 4 months. And, but they don't care until they know how much you care. Like if I would have gone in and said, hey, I understand this is your brother. I've hired family members a lot, and of course it's not like they have a ton of skill sets in other places. What would they do to find work elsewhere? Let's get creative so that they don't fall, and to destitute, and your nieces and nephews now don't have a financially providing father, and blah blah blah. And so you should, putting more emphasis on showing I cared and saying, hey, I want to be a part of the problem solving with you to help take care of your brother, possibly could have made that deal happen. I didn't have enough time at the time to dive into all that to make it happen. But because I went into it and showed them more what I knew quickly to help make a deal happen and show them what they could potentially buy back and the profits they would make in the long run, and quickly presented it to them, they just turned it down because it was kind of a, it was just a business deal. It wasn't a what's a win for everybody deal.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Even though it was a win for everybody deal financially, it wasn't a win for everybody deal emotionally, and morally, I guess.
That's a good formulation, how you just said it. Even though it was a win for everybody deal financially, it wasn't a win for everybody deal emotionally.
Sorry about that. I just somebody came in my office real quick.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, you said what kind of company did you say it was?
It was a custom suit. Well, it's basically a custom clothery. It's like they did shirts, ties, belts, suits, shoes, but mainly for businessmen type business.
Shirts, ties, belts, shoes, suits, Did you say?
Yes. And that was the other thing, is we were going to help show them how we can bust into the female side of business as well with business female clothing, but it just couldn't get past the potential need to tighten the belt financially at first, which was of course laying off a few positions. And
so this is just so I understand the kind of context, you are part of your brand, or part of your set of businesses is you buy and turn around distressed businesses, correct?
Correct.
How long have you been doing that?
That actually for not long, 2 years. We've only done 2, but we want to start doing more. But the thing is now the companies that we still own, there's so much opportunity to still grow them and take on more areas of its fields, of its industry, that until I run out of opportunity with the companies I currently own, it doesn't make too much sense to continue looking for opportunities elsewhere. But
right.
at the time, not knowing if certain companies that I had were going to die or not, I had to be looking at other opportunities as well, just to make sure that there's other irons in the fire to jump to if the ones completely failed, which thank goodness they didn't. But so now that things are rebounding on those, it's like, wow, there's so much more opportunity too. Let's focus on it and give it a lot of money and time and energy and thought.
Right.
But once they, continue to plateau a little bit, that's when we'll go back to our venture capital / private equity, which is, buying and selling outside distressed companies.
Right. All right. So just I have a few more questions about this. The custom clothier. How big a company was it? How many employees do you remember?
Did you say the custom suit one?
Yeah.
It was, I think, a total of 7 employees. And it was crazy what they were paying in payroll for a small custom suit company.
So their salaries were inflated in relation to their revenue.
Absolutely.
And how did you find them, or how did they find you?
Kind of through the grapevine. I briefly started not advertising, but expressing to my inner network of business colleagues that that's what we want to do, and so one of them had a friend of a friend that was hurting, and so they reached out to me. But soon we'll start marketing for it, so we'll be getting emails and calls from strangers, but this was kind of through the grapevine of just my network.
So they were looking for a private equity company like you, or a venture capital company like you they were looking for somebody to buy their company and turn it around, or they were just in distress and you came to them? Like, were they in the market for somebody coming in and doing what you were doing, or did you kind of come to them and say, hey, I heard your...
Yeah, they didn't really know what to look for. They just knew they were struggling and hurting, and their friend told them, hey, you should call Harrison. And so I kind of, once they didn't take my proposal, I was trying to show them, different ways they could still save their company with traditional lending, but that I told them, their traditional lending is going to require you to do some of the same budget cuts as I am, but that's for them to decide.
Right.
But or there's there's you can separate and you can have. So I showed them a couple different ways they can do it, but I don't know what they decided. We kind of lost touch, but they reached out to me, and not with a specific plan. They just said, hey, we're hurting. What we heard you might have some ideas.
Oh, I see. Okay. And can you go into a little more detail about what your proposal was and how you arrived at it with your financial person? Like, what was, maybe start with what were how did, I guess you did something like an audit of their business, or a kind of... Yeah. So can you say, I mean, we probably don't need a whole lot of detail here, but just what were maybe some of your main findings when you did the audit?
We basically took their current EBITDA, their current earnings before interest, EBITDA, and so basically took its EBITDA, and that's where you get the value of a company's current value. And even, when it's in the negative, it's worth nothing. But what we did was then say, okay, if we can make these cuts, if we can make these adjustments and increase its revenue X, cut its expenses X, its EBITDA could be, X, but that would be after we make those changes. It's going to take an injection of X of our money to float it to get it to that point. So we would need to buy the company for that amount that we inject into it to get it there. But then, and so we'd be 100% owners of it until once we get it to that point, you can then buy it back from us with its own profits over the next 5 years, paying us X amount like a loan for those 5 years. And then after 5 years, you own it 100%. And but we made 10 times on our money over the next 5 years.
Oh, I see. So the amount that they would pay back to you would be 10 times greater than what you bought it for.
Exactly. But we provided them a vehicle that now not only can they pay us 10 times back our money, they now make more than they've ever made.
I see. Okay. So in addition to paying you 1,000% of what you invested, they would also be clearing a much higher profit than they had gotten.
Totally. Yeah, they could choose to pay us off quicker, and so they'd be, because it's a set amount that then has interest on it, just like a bank loan. But we help provide it. We help turn their company around to service a bank loan, unlike just a regular bank loan.
Yeah, got it.
And so then if they want to save money on interest over those, 5, 8, 10 years, whatever we negotiate at the beginning, they can save money in the long, over interest if they pay it off sooner. So it's in their best interest to pay it sooner, and we would love to get it back sooner because we'll still make 10 times our money. But the interest is fine as well until we get it. So.
And what were some of your strategies to help them turn it around? Were you arguing for? I mean, what was your proposal to them in terms of how you were gonna change their company? So were you proposing laying off the brother or reducing his salary, or what? Can you get into specifics of?
Yeah,
what you were suggesting?
There was a lot of this brother's position was mainly overseeing the company, which is not a revenue producing position.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete expense, which is fine. A lot of companies need that, but in this downturn, the CEO could have been doing that instead of having to have a separate COO, which is what the brother was, do that for him. And so getting rid of that salary at the beginning was a huge savings to then put into more potential material, because the inventory was way low, which is why their EBITDA was very low. And so the turnaround time to their clients was like 6 to 8 weeks for the suit. And so it was one of their sales reps was saying that they weren't getting a lot of sales due to the long turnaround. And so restructuring the funds to help get a little bit more material, more stuff, money to be able to expedite processes was going to be a big potential advantage for the salesman. But the salesman was on a salary plus commission. So we did a thing where we were proposing to do higher commission and lower salary. To incentivize him to get even more money if he sells it, with the ability to do quicker turnarounds. But we share the risk. We're not having to pay him to not get sales. And so, and there was actually 2 salespeople for that in that boat. And so we were making those 2 adjustments, and then there was some back rent that was late and had balances to get caught up, as well as some different taxes and things. So there was a little bit of money needing to inject to keep it current and healthy, as well as these changes to be agreed to in order to run efficiently moving forward. And those few things were big no-nos on there. So everybody kind of was comfortable and complacent on their salaries. They didn't really want to work much harder or feel the burn a little bit.
Yeah.
Of having to work for your money.
Right. Sorry, did you say you were reducing you were proposing to reduce salaries or eliminate salaries?
The salesman?
Yeah, of the salesman.
Reduce to pretty much minimum wage, where they're making a minimum wage plus a much better commission. So if they would have been doing the same sales that they were doing 2 years ago, they'd be making more than they were even currently, but they would have to hustle. And that, of course, was unattractive to both, and which was a big tale. I was like, look, I'll go get salesmen that would love to. But the thing is even the salesmen were friends, not brothers, but they were friends. And so they were kind of like, well, we don't want to lose our friendships as well. And I was like, well, you guys are just begging to bury yourselves. So,
yeah.
So so having to keep the salesman on at that price, that, it was a bad recipe. But we knew if there was no emotion, we knew we can go in there and turn it around. Like, they had good products, they had good brand image, where the clients that did get suits were happy and enjoyed it and talked well. So I felt like I could definitely go in and turn it around, but they didn't care how much I knew until they knew how much I cared. But the problem is I cared about making the company survive, and if I would have spent the time and got creative and worked with them and said, hey, how do we make each of your positions a revenue producing position, and then we can keep you guys on, how about everybody becomes a salesman? How about your COO position is also a smaller salary, but you get commission as well? And all these things, like, I could have got creative if I had more time or more desire to actually make the deal happen. But I didn't. I have a lot of other irons in the fire that I had to tend to. But it was a big eye-opener of it was a slam dunk. It would have been a moneymaker for both parties if they just accepted it how it was. But I don't blame them for not, because there was a lot more than just business involved. There was a lot of relationships. And so they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And at the time, unfortunately, I didn't care too much.
Yeah. Right. So you think that if you had, so you're saying if you'd gotten more creative and gone to the COO, and instead of saying, well, you're just canned, we can't make this work with you, what if you had gone and said to the brother or to the COO himself, how can we redefine your job position so that you're producing revenue, because that's what this company desperately needs right now, like something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
because I didn't even talk to the brother of seeing different skills that he might have that we could,
Yeah.
you know, I just sent the proposal back and gave a brief explanation to the CEO of, hey, this could be a great deal, this could be a great plan for both of us. But then, you know, as he responded back to the email of all the things that he was worried about, it was kind of right at a time that I said, no, I understand your positions, I understand your difficulty. It would be too difficult and too time consuming for me to do anything other than the proposal that I sent you. And so we just kind of, stopped, and the train stopped there. And, but like I said, I could have, hold on real quick. Hello? Oh, Kyle and Scott are. You can Sharon's office. They can meet in there. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. So you basically just sent him this proposal. Then did you like come over and walk him through it, or was it really literally just like sending him a PDF or?
Yeah, it was a PDF, email, phone conversation.
Okay.
Over like a 2-day time period. And when he started expressing he was fine with the numbers. He was fine with everything else. He was, of course, just fine about just terrified about the executing of it all.
Right.
And I don't blame him. I've been in that position, but I told him, no, I totally get it. So if anything changes, let me know. But I, at this time, that's the only way I can make it work. And so it stopped at that point.
Yeah.
But had I had more time, I could have been like, well, let me come, let's talk about it. Let me figure out, let me talk with your brother, let me talk with your staff, let me talk with your everybody, and really get in the weeds. I know I could have found solutions, but I just didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's great. I think those. I'm just thinking even more about the kind of success failure structure. I mean, maybe the way to do it is each chapter should have like a success case study, a failure case study. And
yeah.
I mean, it sounds like this chapter is people don't care how, I don't know what the title would be, but the principle would be people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
totally.
Right. This whole phone conversation has consisted of a successful version of that and an unsuccessful version of that. So maybe that's a chapter right there.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's just about an hour.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, I'm just trying to think how to use our time. I mean, maybe we just keep generating ideas, and in the meantime, it'll take me. I think I said hastily yesterday that I could start writing that other one up this week, but then I forgot to build in the fact that it takes a few days for the transcribers to do the transcription. So realistically, I can start writing these things up next week, like Monday.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I might. Maybe like I'll have. Yeah, one day I'll be traveling next week, but I'll have 4 days of work. I might be able to. I don't know. I'll try to crank out a draft of a chapter. Maybe I'll use this one to start with, just because it's so clear. We've got the principle, we've got the success story and we've got the failure story. So maybe I'll just start there and see how that goes as a potential structure. So I'll aim for next Friday, but this being the first chapter, I can't predict exactly how long it takes, but I'll aim for a week. Aim for a week from Friday.
That works for me.
Okay.
And so we're on for Thursday?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So 2 p.m., should we say? Again, I think I have pretty flexible day on Thursday, but tentatively you want to say 2 p.m. my time, 11 a.m. your time?
Actually, Thursday I have a test that I have to take at 1:30 in Phoenix. I mean, is it okay if we do 11 or my time, or like 10 like usual?
Whichever works for you is fine with me.
Let's do 11 my time.
Okay. Great. Okay. That is Thursday the 21st. Okay.
Beautiful.
Great. All right. This is fun.
That is.
I feel like I have a better foothold today. I'm beginning to anyway.
I agree. For some reason today felt different. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I think at least a working structure is starting to take shape for me anyway, and we'll try it out and we'll see how it looks.
The beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You're the man. Well, have a great night, and I'll talk to you Thursday.
Okay, great. Take care, Harrison.
Thanks. Bye.